There's a particular type of ancient Greek ceramic vases that has always fascinated me. But how do I talk about a three-dimensional object in a YouTube video without being able to show it to you in person, especially when all the museums are closed or have limited openings? And even if the museums were open, would they ever allow me to touch a 2,500-year-old terracotta vase? No way. I wouldn't trust me with that. So what do? I make a copy to do this. This particular type of drinking cups from ancient Athens, called I-cup or I-kylix, really begs to be touched. And it's by holding it and moving it in my hands that I could begin to grasp its mystery. So I decided to make a crude replica of one of the surviving examples. As it will become clear to you, I am not at all a skilled artist. And my last attempt at making art was probably in middle school. But with the help of a friend, I came up with a plan and gave it a go. In this episode, I will show you how I made a replica of an Athenian I-cup, then explain to you what it might have meant in the ancient Greek world. The I-cup I decided to copy is in the Metropolitan Museum of Art and was made of terracotta from around 540 to 520 before Common Era. It measures 3.5 inches high and 7 5/8 inches in diameter. I began by roughly marking the dimensions of the vase on a glass bowl turned upside down on a cake decorating stand. Then I took some terracotta-colored modeling clay, how convenient, rolled it out into a thin sheet, and draped it over the bowl. I couldn't replicate the perfectly smooth contour of the original vase, but that's okay. I wasn't trying to make a perfect replica. By the way, that second pair of hands is my brother, who made the round discs that form the foot of the vase. Next, I rolled some clay into long ropes to form the U-shaped handles that go on either side of the bowl. Then I cut the edge of the clay body with a knife for that straight edge. After letting the clay air dry for a couple of days, I copied the design on the dry surface with a pencil as closely as I could. When that was done, I started to paint on the sketch with black acrylic paint and brush. I immediately realized that I don't have the skills to use a brush very well, so I quickly switched to Sharpies. Why hadn't I thought of that in the first place? So much easier. I used a black marker mostly, then brown marker for smaller details, and some white marker for corrections. I definitely wasn't able to copy the design perfectly, but that's okay. I wasn't trying to make a perfect replica. Then I painted the bottom of the vase with black. Then it was time to attach the foot and handles to the body. I started with an epoxy glue, but that didn't work. This is when I realized that I probably should have attached the handles to the vase when the clay was still wet, but what can you do? It was too late. I tried E6000, an industrial-strength adhesive, which emits pretty awful toxic fumes. I had my mask on and windows open while working with this potent stuff. E6000 worked its magic and voila, the handles and foot are in place. Then I gave the interior of the cup a nice paint and boom, we have a rough replica of a Greek I-cup from 6th century before Common Era. Did you notice that I kept saying I wasn't trying to make a perfect replica? I really wasn't. Creating a perfect copy of the vase's shape or design wasn't really my goal. What I did try to replicate is a visual impact of this cup when I hold it up against my face as if drinking from it. As you can see when the cup is held up, the two pairs of wide open eyes on the exterior look directly out at you. It's a very striking, maybe even scary thing to look at. Why paint these eyes on a drinking cup? To answer that question, we have to think first about where these cups would have been used in ancient Athens. I-cups first emerged in Athens around 540 and 530 before Common Era. One of the earliest examples of this type of drinking cup is a so-called Dionysus kylix by the potter and vase painter Ezechius, found in the Etruscan city of Volci in present-day Italy. How do we know that Ezechius made it over 2 millennia ago? Because of his signature on the foot of the bowl, of course. This vase shows the key features for which eye cups became popular. The cup is made up of a wide round bowl with a foot and two U-shaped handles on either side. The front and the back of the vase show two pairs of eyes with concentric circles that indicate the pupils and irises, as well as tear ducts. We can also see the nose and eyebrows framing the eyes. The interior of the vase gives us a clue to how this cup would have been used by ancient Athenians. It shows Dionysus, the god of wine and theater, holding a cornucopia, the symbol of plenty, and sailing on a boat. Grapevines grow on this fabulous barge, surrounded by dolphins. The grapes, the vine, and the dolphins are all symbols of Dionysus, who stands for divine madness, inspired by wine and festivity. Basically, he's the god you want to invite to your dinner parties. As the Dionysus Kylix indicates, eye cups were frequently used in drinking parties for upper-class Athenian men, known as symposion. Literally a drinking together. The symposion was ritualized drinking party after a meal that took place in the so-called men's room or andron of a house. The wine would be mixed with water in a large bowl called a crater at the center of this drinking chamber. You never want to drink undiluted wine because that's what gods and barbarians do. And men drank in each other's company while lying down in long couches. For entertainment, they hired musicians, as you see in this example of a man playing a double pipe, as well as prostitutes. The symposiasts sang, danced, told each other jokes as you would in a drinking party. And just to remind you that there's nothing new under the sun, these Greeks also played drinking games. In this vase painting, you see the drinkers with their fingers hooked on the handle of a drinking cup. This is a depiction of the game called kotabos, where you fling the dregs of the wine at a target in the center of the room and try to knock it off to the ground to win a prize. Beer pong for the ancient Greeks, dudes! So the symposium was a communal drinking ritual for upper-class men to build solidarity and companionship. Now to get back to our eye cups. Why use these drinking cups with scary eyes when you're partying with your friends? Scholars have offered multiple explanations. The first theory is that these eyes have the magical power to ward off evil. By glaring at any potential threat, the eyes protect the person who's drinking from the cup. Sort of like the evil eye amulet we see on jewelry and ornaments. In addition to general bad luck, the eyes can also deflect jealousy or any other ill feelings from your companions in the symposium. If you think about it, when you're getting drunk, you're also letting down your guards. And when you're using this type of drinking cup with a big wide bowl, your frontal sight gets blocked as you lift the cup to drink from it. Thus, the eyes are there to protect you at the moment you become vulnerable to potential frenemies. Another theory is that the eye cup acts as a sort of a mask for you to transform into a different persona as you get drunk. When you lift the cup to your face to drink from it, the cup becomes a second face, with the eyes, the ears, the nose, and the hollowed out foot as a mouth. Right around the time when eye cups were emerging in late 6th century before Common Era was when the earliest mention of masks being used in theater appeared. Greek plays were performed by actors wearing masks and costumes, and wine drinking and theater were both elements of life in ancient Mediterranean, presided over by the god Dionysus. So it makes sense to bring that element of theatricality to the context of drinking parties, your Dionysian ritual. As you become inebriated with wine, you can transform into different characters. And eye cups were not confined to all-male drinking parties in Athens. They were popular in other parts of the Mediterranean as grave gifts. For example, in Etruria, eye cups were used as lids on top of craters or bigger vases containing the remains of a deceased person. Thus, they were used for different purposes in different cultures. We may never know for certain why these glaring eyes adorned the eye cups from ancient Athens. But I think that open-ended nature of these objects is what makes them utterly fascinating and delightful to look at. The details of the paintings on these eye cups are just astonishing. I particularly love the face of the Gorgon that appear frequently on the interior of Athenian eye cups. The most famous Gorgon is, of course, Medusa, the snake-haired woman whose gaze turns you into stone. As you empty the wine in the cup, you come face to face with the Gorgon's petrifying gaze. Is that a metaphor for the alcohol-induced stupor that takes over your body as you drink? Is a Gorgon's grotesque gaze a humorous reminder not to overdrink, as in, stop drinking now, or you'll see me when you empty this cup? And my favorite, the Bumford cup, which has this gorgeous interior with the face of the Gorgon surrounded by the depiction of the Symposion and intertwining grapevines. 2 pairs of large eyes with the mask of Dionysus in the center on the outside. And what's that on the bottom? A penis.
What?
Scholars have offered historical explanations for this penis on the bottom of the cup, but gosh, truth be told, I don't want to know. I'm just going to enjoy the sense of humor involved in drinking from this cup to show everybody a penis. It's just too funny. In preparing this episode, I rediscovered the joys of making things with my hands. In the process of making the eye cup replica, I was able to really appreciate the fine details of the cup, the small things that I would have completely missed had I only looked at the photographs. So I heartily recommend the Greek eye cup replica as your next COVID-19 DIY project. Because whether we like it or not, the pandemic is not over yet. So get those vaccines, wear those masks, and make these eye cups, everyone. That's it for this episode. Thanks for watching. See you next time on ArtStoryLab.